It is that time of year when us journal inclined start thinking about which journals we might use for next year. We're so lucky to have the range of styles and sizes that we have available to us now, but choosing from that can sometimes be really overwhelming, especially if you're trying to choose your first journal ever. And that's where I come in. Hi, I'm Erin, and I'm a journal enthusiast. I've been making creative journals for myself for the past 8 years now, which is wild. So let's have a chat about the different journal sizes that are available and what those sizes are best suited for. Just wanted to add that I'm coming at this from the context of creative journaling or hybrid planning and scrapbooking, the kind of styles that are generally centered around doc grid notebooks with 160 GSM paper, just because that's what I do, and most of the people who watch my channel are typically looking for that. And also, you definitely don't have to start a new journal with every calendar year, but a lot of us like to. So whether you're looking for a new journal or not, hopefully when that time rolls around for you, this video will have something that will help you make an informed decision. The notebook sizes we'll take a look at in this video are A5, B5, Square, Travelers, the weird in-between size Notebook Therapy original size and similar, and A6. We're going to start off by talking about A5 because it is the most popular and accessible journal size, and that is for a really good reason. A5 is typically the size that most people think of when they think of notebooks. Even if you aren't really a notebook person, you've probably owned an A5 notebook at some point. They hit this sweet spot in between balancing portability and usable space, which is probably why it's the most popular size. The great news about A5 journals is that there's a huge range of beautiful covers out there from a multitude of brands, and with varying features too, like paper thickness and having page numbers in the corners. Whatever it is you're looking for out of a journal, it's very likely you'll be able to find it in an A5 option. They're also the most accessible in terms of locality as well, with lots of indie stationery companies offering regional options, so wherever you are, there's likely to be someone selling A5 doc grid journals somewhere sorta near you. If you're going into your first journal ever, I really recommend A5 as a great starting point. Bigger journals can sometimes feel really intimidating to new users, and it will also give you a really good baseline for your own creative style, so that when you're looking for your next journal after your first one, you'll have a better idea of what you actually need. Since A5 is pretty much established as the standard size for most journals, I'll be referring to it and comparing lots of the other notebook sizes that we talk about in this video to the A5 for context. Most of my own bullet journals have been A5 sized, with the exception of only 2 of them over the course of 8 years. And a big plus about them for me is that I can very comfortably fit 6 months into a single journal, so I use 2 per year, which is very comfortable for me. But that's just my journaling style. You might have very different results for your own journaling style, so your mileage may vary. So we've talked about the positive points of the A5 journals. What about the cons? Honestly, there aren't that many cons to A5 journals. Some people find them to be too small for their purposes, and if you're wanting something you can just throw in your purse, this might still be too big, but typically these are a pretty good option for any style of journaling. I'd absolutely recommend them as the classic choice for bullet journaling or creative planning. They're good for long-form therapeutic journaling when you just want to rant to your pages. A lot of people go for larger reading journals, but these would absolutely still work, especially if you're someone who reads a lot and you need more pages, because there are some options out there with up to 256 pages, I think is the biggest I've seen so far, and I have successfully used an A5 journal for my reading journal in the past too. But most of the A5 doc grid journals I've seen are 160 page journals, so that may not be enough for some people. Next up we have the B5. These are bigger notebooks, which means they have more space for writing or decorating than an A5, which makes it really good for detailed notes, good for sketching, good for dashboard spreads where you can keep a lot of information together, or for creative spreads. These were kind of hard to find for a while, but there are actually lots of brands making really pretty ones now. The obvious ones spring to mind: Notebook Therapy, Archer & Olive, and Tiefossi, but there are probably others if you do a bit of digging. I'm pretty sure Leela Journals sell some really beautiful B5s as well. These are a very popular size for reading or media journals, and with good reason. I've used a B5 for my reading journal before in 2024, and I'm planning to use one again in 2026 because I enjoyed the experience so much. If you've ever used an A5 and thought, I just wish it was a bit bigger, this is probably the size you need. They're also great for memory keeping or junk journaling if you like to have a lot of room. They're really good for hybrid journals if you like to keep all of your stuff in one place and you don't carry it around much, you just keep it on your desk, or if you just have really big handwriting and you need space to accommodate it. The drawbacks of B5s: first of all, they are heavier and bulkier than smaller journal sizes, obviously, which might be less convenient if you want to take your journal places with you. It may not even fit in your bag. It fits in my bag because I specifically chose this bag to fit a B5 journal, but you might want to measure your bag choices if you plan to carry around a B5. Some people find bigger journals to be more daunting or overwhelming to get started on, so that's always a factor. You might feel like you have to work harder to fill up all of the space, or if you're someone who doesn't like negative space, the white spaces left over between things, then you might feel like you're wasting the pages if you don't completely fill them. Square journals are a new favorite for a lot of people. They've become very popular over the past couple of years. They're usually 8 inches by 8 inches, and that seems to be the most accessible size, so that's what I'm referring to here. But one of my own journals was a square that was different to that, so make sure you check maybe before you make a purchase. Amongst all of the readily available DocGrid journal options, these have the largest page real estate area to work with. That means you have plenty of room for decoration while still keeping all of your functional stuff functional if you're making a bullet journal that is decorated like what I like to do. The square journals just look really cool and unique, which I think is a point in their favor. They're really good for dashboard spreads where you want to keep lots of information together on a single page or spread. They're fantastic for lists when you set them up column style like this one from my reading journal. There's plenty of space for creative page applications like tabs or Dutch doors or waterfall tabs, and when you have a pretty one, it can double as a really nice decorative kind of coffee table book if you'd like it to also act as decor. It does also come with all of the same cons as the B5 journals, which is that they can be intimidating, especially if you're coming from a smaller journal size. They can be quite heavy and bulky and are definitely not especially portable, and you might have the same kind of waste anxiety around them if you don't like to have white spaces left over. That said, square journals make excellent reading or media journals. They are a super popular size for that, actually. They're also great for scrapbooking, memory keeping, junk journaling, commonplacing, any kind of photo-heavy journaling, and of course for creative planning if you're someone with big handwriting or you just need a lot of space. So we've talked about the bigger journals, let's now talk about some of the smaller journal options that are out there. This is a traveler's size, or you sometimes see it listed as TN, short for traveler's notebook. This size originally came out of Japan from the Midori Company's traveler's notebooks, which are quite different to these. They are a cool little leather cover with some interchangeable inserts, but the ones we're talking about are the same size as those, or at least inspired by, but they actually have that 160 GSM DocGrid paper inside too. As you can probably tell from the name of the size, these lend themselves very well to being carried around, to being traveled with. The vertical orientation of this kind of notebook just screams lists to me. It's just so good for making lists, and the smaller size means it's much less intimidating than something like a square, a B5, or even an A5. When we compare it to an A5 journal here, you can see it's actually the same height as a standard A5, it's just a lot narrower. Maybe too small or too narrow for some people, depending on what you want to do with it. This does mean it has limited space for adding decoration. It might feel too small for some kinds of page layout. And if you want a bound one like this, there aren't that many places that stock really pretty ones. The only ones that I'm aware of at the moment are Notebook Therapy and Archer and Olive, which the ones I'm showing you are all from one of those two places. There might be others. Please let me know in the comments if you know about other places that make beautiful traveler's notebooks like these bound ones. I personally really enjoy this size, so I really hope that we see more traveler's size notebooks from brands coming in the future. Fingers crossed. So what are some of the uses that traveler's size notebooks are best suited for? Travel journals, obviously, it's right there in the name. They can also be a great bullet journal for folks who want to travel with their notebook frequently, or if you're not as keen on heavy decoration. I am seriously considering using a traveler's size notebook for my first bullet journal for 2026, so watch this space if you want to see if I go ahead with that. A traveler's size can also be a really good low pressure, quick notes kind of system that you eventually move into a larger journal. They also make a great gap filler journal if you fill up your main journal faster than you anticipate, but you still want to start a new one at a particular time, like maybe the beginning of a new calendar year. I actually did this with my reading journals last year in 2024, so I filled up my B5 around about the end of September, and so I moved into a traveler's journal for those last 3 months of the year, and I actually had such a good time with it. I discovered you can still do Dutch doors and waterfall tabs, they just have to be a bit more sparing, and I think having so much fun with that experience is kind of what's inspired me to maybe try one for 2026, we'll see. I also use a traveler's size for my cash flow, like money journal. I've never really settled on a specific name for this journal, but I'm not going to show you inside it because it has lots of my own personal financial details, but I did make a video about it when I first set it up, so you can check that out if you'd like to. And I also think a traveler's size would be a great dedicated project journal for something that you're working on or an event that you're planning or something like that. Next we have the awkward, smaller than an A5, but I don't really know what to call them otherwise because every brand gives them a different name category. Specifically here, I'm referring to Notebook Therapy's original size and also the Washi Tape Shop's. They call this large size journal, but it's only certain styles of their journals because they do also have A5s. It's a little confusing, especially because I consider this kind of a small journal and they call it large, but whatever. These two are actually not exactly the same size. I think the one from the washi tape shop is a touch smaller, but I have used the heck out of this journal, so it's kind of hard to measure now, so you'll just have to trust me on that. These are essentially just an A5 but a tiny bit smaller, which makes it a little bit easier to carry around with you if that's something you like to do. It could be really great for you if you find the A5 is just a little bit too big but you like the page dimensions. In my experience, it's actually still large enough for full page bullet journal spreads. I actually used the Notebook Therapy original size for the entirety of 2021 for my bullet journals, and I found it pretty easy to work with. I will say though, I wasn't really using stickers and washi tape and stuff as much yet then, but the smaller size does make it a lot easier to fill a page. The Washi Tape Shop notebook here has 160 pages, which is fantastic. The Notebook Therapy original size only has 128, so that might not be enough pages for some people, especially if you're moving to it from a journal that had 160 pages or more. It's also worth mentioning the journals from the Washi Tape Shop have cream pages at 120 GSM mostly, I think. I actually don't think it's a con at all. I find 120 GSM to be pretty good for me, and I actually prefer a cream page, but they're kind of hard to find, so if you like a cream page, maybe check out their journals next. But if you are interested in this slightly smaller than A5 size and you prefer a crispy white, Notebook Therapy is probably the way to go. What's it good for? Basically the same stuff as the traveler's size. I think it makes a fantastic travel journal. In fact, I used this Washi Tape Shop one for a 5-week long trip a while ago, and it was amazing. I basically completely filled it up. So here's a little peek through it. There is a flip through on the channel if you want to see. I'm so impressed with how well it held up, especially because I basically packed this thing full of HP sprocket paper, and that stuff's kind of thick, and the journal just went, I can take it. I am also living proof that these can absolutely still be used as a bullet journal with just a little bit of decoration. And I can also confirm the Notebook Therapy original size works really well for just general note-taking, because I used to use one for that very purpose for meetings with my clients when I was a wedding photographer. I'm not going to show you inside that one either because it's got lots of other people's sensitive information, but trust me, it works really well. And like my suggestions for the traveler's size, I also think this would be a great stopgap journal if you've run out of space in your existing journal for the time period you wanted it to cover, or a specific project journal for a specific project you are undertaking. And finally, we have the teeny weeny cutesy wootsy A6 size journal, which is the smallest one we'll talk about today. All my big journal lovers just went, Erin, what do you mean? There's no way. And yeah, they are really small, but that makes them super portable. This is going to fit in almost any bag. This is a tiny handbag that I have, and it fits in that with space for my wallet. It's amazing. Some places even refer to it as a pocket-sized notebook because it will genuinely fit in your pocket. New notebook paralysis and page size overwhelm do not exist with the A6 journal. It's approachable. And as we are approaching the giving season end of the year, I thought I would mention A6 journals make really good presents, really good gifts for stationery lovers. I'd be so excited if someone gave me an A6 journal for Christmas. They're not without their drawbacks though. Of course, they have less writing space, obviously, so they're not great for folks with large handwriting or for really kind of long entry type of journaling. I'd say they're not really practical for weekly or monthly spreads. I'm not going to say that you can't use one as your daily bullet journal if you want to try, but I do think it would be a little tricky. They almost certainly won't fit a full year of planning inside them, I would say, unless you're a sparse user. There also aren't a huge range of cover options for A6 journals. If you like a 160 GSM dot grid page, Tiefossi and Archer and Olive make some really cute ones, but a lot of the A6 journals out there have really thin paper or are lined instead of dot grid, which might actually be perfect for you if you're looking for them for a specific purpose, so that's something to keep in mind too. But as far as the dot grid ones, they're a lot harder to come across. I think A6 is really well suited to being an on-the-go journal that you just keep in your purse or your pocket for jotting down ideas or quotes or reminders in real time. I think it would also be good for quick daily use for a specific purpose like a gratitude journal or logging symptoms to take to your doctor or a food diary. I think they make great travel journals. I dedicated an A6 notebook to a 2-week UK trip last year, and it was perfect for the length of the trip and the hybrid junk/diary system I used it for. And they also make great swatch journals, so you can keep a library of your pen colors or your washi tapes or your paint palettes or your makeup or something that you can refer to when you're starting a new theme or a new project. I have one of these. This is actually even smaller than A6. This I think is A7. It's tiny, it's very cute, but you could absolutely do this with an A6 journal too. If you've just looked at all those journal sizes and thought, I still have no idea, there are a couple of other tips I want to give you to think about how you want to use the journal that will help you to narrow down the size that you might find the best fit. So first of all, think about where you'll be using it. Will it just be at home? If so, you can probably stand to go bigger. If you plan to take it on the go, then smaller might be more practical. Then you want to think about how you want to use it. So if it's for a specific purpose, have you kept a notebook for this purpose before? Which size did you use then? And did you feel limited by it in any way? Did you feel overwhelmed? Did you feel right at home? If you like to add decorative elements to your pages, you might find you need more page space than someone who just wants to use a single pen. The purpose of your journal is actually pretty important. So I love a large journal for my reading journal because I really like to combine the creative decorative elements along with my book reviews or lists of all the books I've read or other kind of functional spreads like that. But for my day-to-day planning, I prefer a smaller journal. And I've actually discovered over the course of this year that I think I want to go bigger with my memory keeping and junk journaling spreads next year. So they might be getting their own separate notebook. I've been doing them in my bullet journal up until now, but next year maybe not. And if you're new to this kind of journaling or planning that you're diving into and you haven't got any kind of frame of reference yet, please be kind to yourself. You can't really know what size journal is going to suit you until you try, so just follow your heart. If you've been keeping journals for a while and you've used any of these notebook sizes, please let me know down in the comments what you used them for and how you found it. Maybe we can turn the comments section into a resource for all of our new journal friends and leave your own tips and advice down there too, because I think that would be so lovely. And whether you are starting a new journal for 2026 and looking for that sweet spot size for you, or if you're going to be continuing with a journal that still has pages left over, I wish you a wonderful year of journaling in 2026. I hope your pages never crinkle when you're erasing pencil lines. I hope your spines stay intact no matter how much you glue in. And I hope that whatever journal size you choose, it is the perfect size for your purposes. If you found this video helpful and you'd like to learn some more stuff from me, here is a link to my Bullet Journal 101 playlist, which is perfect for anyone new to creative journaling. And underneath that is a link to a video that YouTube thinks you might enjoy.